This is Rugby Unity. I am David Pembroke, and a very big welcome to all of you to the first of our special programs, which will feature our coverage of the 10th Women's Rugby World Cup that will be played in England over the next 6 weekends. 16 teams, 32 matches in 8 venues. And it all kicks off on Friday night England time, where at the Stadium of Light in Sunderland, before 40,000 people, the home team, England, will play the USA. The 2025 tournament will show women's rugby union at a new level. This will be the transformation, or the next transformation, that we will see in the women's game, because we will see double the amount of people attending. We will see double the amount of people watching the game. And in fact, I believe it will be greater than that, because the BBC will be covering the tournament on free-to-air television in the UK. The final at Twickenham has been sold out and could have been sold out 4 times over, and it's likely that the semi-finals that will be played in Ashton Park in Bristol will also be sold out. 49% of women's fans have only come to the game in the last 2 years. So there is substantial momentum. The mission of Rugby Unity is to help secure the future prosperity of rugby union around the world. And there's no question that the women's game is fundamental to the future success and prosperity of our game. And I look forward to bringing you up-to-date coverage through the next 6 weekends as we watch what will be a fantastic tournament. Now, joining me through the next 6 weeks on our programs, it will start as a weekly program, but I hope that as we get a little bit more excited, we will continue to create more programs. But joining me as my co-host on this journey through the 2025 Women's Rugby World Cup is the Australian fly half, Bella McKenzie. Bella debuted for Australia back in 2019. She was the only fly half in the Australian squad at the 2022 World Cup. She has played in Australia for the New South Wales Waratahs. She has played in New Zealand and has also spent a season in 2022 with the Harlequins team in the Premiership. She joins me from Sydney. Bella McKenzie, welcome to Rugby Unity.
Hello, David. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be on this podcast with you. It's exciting.
It is very exciting. It's particularly exciting when you think that the momentum is so positive. It's so strong. We're seeing such improvements across the women's game. But listen, before we jump into a little bit of that detail, just a little bit more about you and your journey into the game. Where did it start?
Yeah, so I started playing rugby league in my hometown, Lightning Ridge, for the Lightning Ridge Tigers. It actually took my mum a bit of convincing to let me play tackle football. But yeah, loved sport growing up, loved cricket, loved league. And yeah, kind of just fell more into league and sevens throughout high school. But yeah, it all started back home playing league for the Lightning Ridge Tigers. Okay,
and I believe it was the Australian women's success at the Rio Games winning the first of those gold medals, or the first of the women's sevens rugby gold medals that encouraged you to jump across from league and into rugby union.
Yeah, I was a massive sevens fan, massive Charlotte Caslick fan, bit of a super fan. So yeah, kind of fell into sevens throughout high school, and then yeah, quickly realised when I left school that I probably wasn't cut out for sevens, and kind of enjoyed being down at the pub and East Rugby Club a bit more than training for sevens. But yeah, massive sevens fan, and yeah, loved the way I could transition into 15s from sevens. I think it really helped my 15s game with the little details and the technical side of things. But yeah, it's kind of how I fell into it, and then obviously into the Waratahs, and then debuted for the Waratahs and then the Wallaroos in the same year. So, yeah, pretty exciting.
And you obviously love the game, and you've been heavily involved in the game. How have you seen it evolve? And clearly you had the opportunity in 2022 to play in the Premiership in the UK, where they play a lot more than they do in Australia. But how have you seen the game evolve in the last sort of 5 to 6 years?
I think, as you touched on it, the more games you can play, the better you're going to get as a rugby player. It's very cliche, but it's like any skill. The more you do it, the better you're going to get at it. So I think obviously playing overseas at Harlequins really helped my career. I saw the game in a different light that I probably hadn't really been that, into it before. And the review side of things, I think they really honed in on that overseas. And you just have more time together, so you can really come together as a team and put in good performances week in, week out. But yeah, as the game improves, you see girls kicking 50-meter goals. The kicking game has gotten a lot better, I think. Just having all those different skill levels come into it as well.
And the physical preparation also seems to have markedly improved when you're seeing the size and the power of the athletes in the game. It's really come up a level, hasn't it, in terms of the pace and the way that the game and the way that those skills are being applied.
Yeah, I think as you see, there's closer games, the fitness levels, as you touched on, the more time that you can invest in your players, the more they can get out on the training field and really put their best foot forward and for their country as well. But yeah, like you said, even the coaching, I think the more coaches that get to coach actual more games as well, it's only going to improve their coaching for the team as well.
Yeah, well, Eddie Jones made that point last week on the Rugby Unity podcast, particularly in England, where there has been investment over some time. The John Mitchell, an elite male coach who coached the All Blacks, assistant coach at England and has coached in many, many countries, is now, in fact, the coach of the England women's team. So how important is it that the women are being exposed to those more experienced coaches?
Yeah, it's huge. It's massively important. I think England, they have an amazing fan base due to all their success. They had a lot of funding put into them early on by the RFU, and to see someone of John's caliber come into the realm and coach England, and they haven't lost a game since the last World Cup final. So obviously he knows what he's doing, and I think he's a great person for that team.
Yeah, no, he's a very fine coach and with a great track record. Now, listen, I am going to raise it before we get too much further. You were, in fact, available for selection, but you didn't get picked. Take us through that story on the day of selection, where your name wasn't there on the list when it was published.
Yeah, I mean, I found out quite a while before that, so I had a lot of time to process it. But yeah, I've been dropped, and it's not really, it's probably the first time I've been dropped in my career, and in a World Cup year, something that only comes around 4 years, and you work so hard to be on that plane. And obviously going to England, it's going to be a massive spectacle, and the growth we've already seen in women's rugby the last couple of years. So yeah, gutted that I'm not a part of it, but that's footy and that's life. You just kind of got to get on with it, and yeah, just try and be a good teammate from afar and support the girls, and yeah, get my rugby nerd knowledge in this way.
Yeah, good. And look, one more question, just to really rub it in. Obviously, there's all the welcome ceremonies, the cap presentations. Each player at the World Cup gets a special cap. Have you observed any of that from afar? Because I did actually see some of that the other day and thought, oh, ouch. That must.
Yeah. The welcoming ceremony. I mean, if anyone knows me, they know I hate wearing the ones, so the blazer and the pants. So kind of lucky that I'm not there wearing that in the English heat. But yeah, it's a really cool way to start the tournament, and all the countries get together and get your cap, and yeah, it's really special. And yeah, missing out on that, but not wearing the ones and the RMs. But
fair enough. Well, listen, I do, and we will be getting right into the detail of the rugby, and we'll be talking about the opening matches, or some of the opening matches. We won't have time today to get through all of them because it is a busy opening, but we do want to go through the different pools. But before we do that, World Rugby, big congratulations to them. They've released the blueprint for growth for the women's game. And it came out, I think, yesterday or maybe the day before. And it really does give us that statistical sort of overview of the growth of the game. The scale of Alona Ma's social media following, the growth in the Wallaroos, social media following, insights like 42% of women's fans are more likely to speak favourably about a brand that is involved in the women's game, as opposed to 9% of men followers in the game, which sort of shows just what the potential there is around some of that commercial opportunity. So kudos to World Rugby for releasing that, because we are expecting World Rugby's strategic plan in September, which we've been speaking a lot about rugby unity, because there's no way that we can help secure the future prosperity of rugby union around the world if we don't know what the strategic plan is. But anyway, it has been promised and it is coming. But in terms of this particular blueprint, I just want to go through the pillars that have been put in place. The first of those is to make women's rugby impossible to miss. So that means more coverage, more exposure, seeing it more. What sort of things do you think could happen or could be introduced, Bella, that would help the game to make it impossible to miss?
I think, as you touched on it, Alona Ma, she's a big personality. I think female rugby players are very unique. They're very marketable. They're not afraid to show their personality. So the more that the women's players can get their name out there, their brand, their personality, I think it puts lots of fans in the seats and gets people to the games. I know when Alona Ma debuted for Bristol in the Prem at the start of the year, they had to move it to Ashton Gate, I believe, so they could sell more tickets. So, yeah, I think that's one step forward, is getting more players out there. And, you're seeing the likes of Sarah Byrne do more Instagram and TikTok stuff to get her name out there. And I know she puts a lot of fans in the crowds as well. But, yeah, I think that's one way you could get more people in the crowd and more people involved watching. Yeah,
well, we certainly saw that in Canberra this year when the USA played the Wallaroos before a Super Rugby match. And Alona Ma would have put, by herself alone, probably another 4,000 or 5,000 people through the gate. And that goes to point number 2, which is about empowering players to tell their stories, which I think is critical to point number 1. And indeed, this will be the social media Rugby World Cup, and World Rugby have put content creators inside the team, so as that we are going to be seeing a lot of social media content. And I was speaking to Emily Chancellor a couple of weeks ago on Rugby Unity, talking about that. And as we were discussing it yesterday, we sort of came up with this idea that we at Rugby Unity are in fact with our community. So our community here with the podcast on YouTube, on Spotify, on Apple, but also on Instagram, LinkedIn and TikTok. We are going to work with our community to award the content creator. This is available to all of the players who are playing in the tournament. It's a tankard. Yes, we've gone all out here at Rugby Unity. But this will become the most treasured prize available to all of the women players who are participating in the Rugby World Cup, the 10th Women's Rugby World Cup. We want to see your content. Our community are going to be watching. They are going to be clearly watching everything that you do. And so we want to see creativity. We want to see imagination. We want to see great storytelling. So for all of you players out there, this will be the Rugby Unity content creator of the 2025 Women's Rugby World Cup. So your name will be engraved and you'll be able to hold on to this for the rest of time. So that is going to sit there as a reminder of just how important it is that we as a community support the content that gets created and share, pass it on, get it moving, because I think there's a real opportunity with the network effects of being able to get things moving, that if we all jump in behind the content that's being created, because there's going to be vast amounts of this content out there. And I think there's and it's not just going to be the on-field content, it's going to be the off-field content as well, as the women players who are far more engaging and far more comfortable, I think, in not only telling their stories and showing their personalities, but engaging with fans, after matches, before matches. They really want to make this a great success. And I think everything is set up for it in the UK, given that we've just had, the Lionesses, the football team in England have such success in the European Championship. I think people are going to be so tuned in to this next great women's tournament around rugby. We've got the BBC putting it on free to air. And so I think that the groundwork's there. So what we all need to collectively do, and this handsome prize is awaiting you. It doesn't matter. We don't know who it is, as I say, but we want to see some real imagination and creativity to get the story out there, because we do need to help secure the future prosperity of rugby union around the world, and that will come from greater awareness and understanding of these great athletes that we have and these great contests that we're going to see over the next 6 weeks in England. So that's something to look forward to. So the third pillar of the blueprint for growth is more tournaments, more tentpole moments. 31% of women's fans, according to the research done for the blueprint for growth, come to the game through the big tournaments. So that is critically important that we have these bigger tournaments. And Bella, for you, obviously playing in the bigger tournaments is a big thing, but it's a great opportunity for people to turn their attention, isn't it, to these really intense, large global events where we get to see women's rugby being played at the highest level.
Yeah, I think the inclusion of the World XV tournament that happens every year now, it's kind of like a mini World Cup. You play 3 games back to back against countries you probably normally wouldn't verse on a regular test schedule. So, yeah, as you said, hugely important for the growth of the game, and I think it only improves the product and, yeah, gets more people through the gates watching and more fans coming to the games as well.
Because I think the key thing for me from 2025, when you look back to 2022, obviously it was a 2021 tournament played in 2022, but the momentum that was built through that tournament, we saw that 40,000 plus crowd at the final at Eden Park. But the game seemed to sort of drift a bit after that for mine. We really didn't take advantage of that particular moment, which was, phenomenal. It was a great game of football. The Kiwis obviously beat the favourites in England. But this time around, I don't think that can be allowed to happen again. And obviously that World 15 tournament that you talk about is there in place. And obviously the sevens tournaments are there as well. And then, we look to 2027 for the next World Cup in Australia as well. So more tournaments, more tentpole moments. So that's the third part of the pillar. The fourth pillar, player pathways. Now, as someone who is an experienced leader inside the Australian game, and you came through that sevens schools pathways. What's your views here in Australia, but also having been played in New Zealand and played in the UK? What's your assessment of the current maturity of those pathways?
I think, especially for the 15s game, that we only play 5 games of Super W and then you have to go and play a test match. I think that's not enough time to get cohesion, get continuity. I think you start putting in good performances at the back end of the season, and then it kind of all finishes and you have to go and play internationals. So I think for Australia to be successful at the next World Cup, the home World Cup in 2029, there needs to be a home and away system for Super W before we could cross over with OPECI. I think it's even for the coaches as well. They need more time with the girls to coach and really hone in on their job. And I think that's probably one area where I think Super W can grow and those pathways can become more clear, and we're not losing girls to AFL and league so early on in their careers. So it can be competitive in that area as well.
What about the flow of girls from the junior and the school system up into those elite pathways? Are they robust enough?
Yeah, I mean, I can only speak for the Waratahs, and we have a great academy system. We have a really strong sevens program, and a lot of those girls trickle into the 15s program as well. We have a good Chikarovsky Cup that a lot of the girls, again, transition into the 15s team, kind of how I fell into 15s that way, playing for Easts, and then I got picked to play for the Waratahs in that year. So there is definitely a pathway here in New South Wales, and I can't speak too much for the other states as I'm not too aware of it. I know the Reds have a similar system going on with their 7s and 15s programs.
What about what you saw when you were overseas in London with the Harlequins and in New Zealand with Matatu?
Matatu, yeah. So Matatu, yeah, it was the inaugural year for Opeki there, and it was kind of during COVID. But yeah, the Kiwis are really strong footy players, and they're always going to put good sides out. It's really competitive to even make the Opeki team, as there's only 4. So a lot of their great players just play in the Farah Palmer Cup, which is running right now. So speaks volumes for the amount of players they have left at home, whilst the other 32 are off at the World Cup. And yeah, as for England, like I said, it's probably the premier competition in the world for women's rugby. There's 12 teams, I think, and it's really hard to make finals. My first year, we didn't even make finals. We had a pretty strong team. All the best players play in it from USA, Canada, Scotland, Wales, France, and obviously the Red Roses. And just the time together, I was basically training full-time 3-4 days a week and then playing a really competitive game on Saturday. And yeah, just the support staff as well around most of the teams. It's huge and makes you want to become a better rugby player. And yeah, I think it's miles ahead in that sense.
And that really, comes to the point about more money into the game. There's simply not enough revenue, whether it's in Australia or elsewhere, to adequately fund the potential and the opportunity, which is why we are doing this podcast, because we're looking to get more people in more countries being more engaged in the sport, so they will invest more of their time, more of their money, so we'll be able to strengthen those pathways and give women's players the opportunity to be more professional, so they do get those opportunities to play home and away, that the coaches do get the opportunity, the strength and conditioning people get more opportunity, that there's better support, better medical support around the girls as well. So that, again, is part of why this tournament is going to be so important, that we don't lose the momentum that's going to be generated, and that we all collectively work aligned to make the most of what will be a remarkable tournament. So we're drifting closer to the footy and the stars. This is something I'm really looking forward to see some of the big names emerge on the global stage. Who are you looking to? Who would you pick as, say, your top 2 or 3 players that people might look to over the next 6 weeks to really make a name for themselves?
Just from the Wallaroos or from the whole competition?
The whole competition.
I think Maddie Feaunati, she's a back rower for England. She is kind of in and out of the starting team. They have amazing depth in the back row from the Red Roses. So I think she's one to watch out for. I think Maya Stewart from the Wallaroos. She debuted for the Wallaroos at the last World Cup, which is pretty insane. And yeah, she's a great athlete, and I'm really excited to see her get some more game time at this World Cup. Who else? I think Sylvia Brunt from New Zealand. She's a classy centre, and she's so young, and she's already been in like World Rugby Player of the Year teams. So I think those 3 are probably my top 3 to watch out for.
I like Georgia Miller from the All Blacks, the Sevens player who's come across. She was enormous in the game against the Wallaroos the other day, and she's clearly just trying to work out the game, still trying to, settle herself into 15s. But she's just electric to watch. You just can't take your eyes off her, because I just love those types of, players. She's on the ball. She's got, she's close to the ground. She's got fantastic skills. So I'm looking forward to watching her play. Portia Woodman-Wickliffe, hard to go past her because she is so damaging. She is so big and powerful, and just has such great awareness on the field, knows the lines that she's got. She knows how much space she's got, and she just picks up speed. And she must be a nightmare to play against.
Yeah, Portia Woodman, Georgie Miller from the Black Ferns. They're always tough opponents. And yeah, Georgie Miller is that freaky player. I think she did Highland dancing as a kid, which is to why she can move so well on a field, and she just moves so freely. And yeah, Portia Woodman, she's probably one of the greatest rugby players of all time. Her resume is insane, and yeah, she's hugely going to make a huge impact for that Black Ferns team at the World Cup.
Yeah, and another player for England, Ellie Kildunne. Did you play with her at the Harlequins?
Yeah. Ellie was my fullback at Harlequins, and yeah, she has a great rugby brain, taught me a lot about rugby and some things I probably didn't even realise that you had to look for at other teams, like what foot they kick with in the backfield. And yeah, she's really technical in that way.
Yeah. So there's so much to look forward to and so many great players. And I think as we go through the tournament, we'll pick them out as we go as to the ones that have caught our eye. And we will certainly enjoy talking about the players as much as the games. But let's just go through the pools. Pool A, and again, 16 teams this time. We're up 4 from last tournament, which again, another sign of growth in the game. But Pool A, England, Australia, USA and Samoa. When I read those names out to you, Bella McKenzie, what do you see? What do you think? And yes, put your Wallaroos hat on as you look at them, but then maybe your commentator's view of that as well. So from an Australian perspective, looking at England, Australia, USA, Samoa in Pool A.
Yeah, I think it's a tough pool. USA and Australia probably will be vying for that second spot. England are the number 1 team in the world at the moment, so I think it'll be hard to beat them in the pool rounds. But it's a World Cup. Anything can happen. It's a different sort of gravy. But yeah, tough pool, and I'm sure Australia will come in second. I think they'll beat the USA in the second pool round game, I think it is. And yeah, it's really cool to see Samoa back in the fold. I think they played at the last in 2014 was their last World Cup they were a part of. So really cool to see the smaller nations get back into the World Cup and try and stamp their mark on it as well.
How worried should Australian fans be that Wales beat Australia in the wet and the slush up in Ballymore a couple of weeks ago?
No, not worried at all. I think that was just a slip, not just a slip in their performance. They really adjusted the next week and put on a great performance again at North Sydney Oval against Wales. But yeah, I think the Wallaroos have improved their defence drastically this year. It was probably, we had a lot of points scored on us last year, and I think this year you're seeing the margins reduce a lot, especially against the Black Ferns. And I know on any given day, if the Wallaroos are physical, that they're up for the contest.
Okay, so Pool B, Canada, Scotland, Wales and Fiji.
Yeah, again, tough pool. We know Scotland and Wales have a strong history there with the Six Nations, and I think Scotland have got the pip over them every time. And yeah, Canada, probably to rugby fans listening to this podcast, they wouldn't know that they're world number 2 right now, and they're a massive, massive strong team and probably looking to beat England in the final. But yeah, I think another tough pool. I think Scotland and Canada will be the top 2 that go through. And yeah, like Samoa, it's cool to have Fiji representing their nation as well. So good to have them again at the World Cup.
How have Fiji come on in the last couple of years? Has it been mirrored by what we've seen in the men's game, where we've seen the Fijian Drua participate in Super Rugby, which has given the domestic players an opportunity to play regularly together against better competition? Have we seen the same sorts of improvements in the Fijian women's game? Yeah,
definitely. I mean, at the start, I think they won the Super W in their inaugural year. They beat us in the final down at Melbourne. So they have, once they got a lot of funding put into them and the right coaches in place, they're a really strong physical team, and anything can happen on any given day versus the Fijians. You never know what you're going to get. So yeah, they're looking to have a good World Cup, and yeah, as you said, them being in Super W and Super Rugby makes their national side stronger.
Mm. And just with Canada, they've been strong in the sevens program for many years. And what would you put it down to, this success that they've now been able to develop in the 15s game?
Yeah, I think they are really strong rugby players. They're really physical. They're really fit. They're really fast. When they have a good game plan, they can really put it into action. And I think we saw that this year throughout their performances, and last year at World XV. They're a tough side to beat. They're really strong defensively, but they've got some classy players in the back line. Alex Tessier, she was World Rugby nominee last year. And yeah, they've got some really good forwards up front that that can really lay a platform for their electric backs.
So what chance would they're ranked 2? Obviously, England is, by a margin favoured to win the tournament. And certainly I saw some highlights of them playing against France, I think it was last week. And like they're frighteningly, they looked pretty hard. They looked pretty hard to roll. But could Canada, so realistically, you think they're a chance?
I think so. They're probably my smokies for the World Cup. I think on their day, they're one of the hardest rugby teams to beat in the world. And I know they pushed England last year in the World XV tournament. I think England only won it in the last 10 or 15 minutes, if I can remember correctly. But yeah, I think those two, France obviously had a bit of a slip up against England. They didn't put on their best performance that I know they can do. They were missing their star halfback, Pauline Bourdon. So it'd be good to have her back for the tournament. But yeah, honestly, it's a World Cup and anything can happen. Everyone's fighting week in, week out to make it to quarterfinals. So yeah, I think it'll be a really cool thing to watch.
Having had the experience of playing in the Prem and living in England, how difficult, and given that the media coverage around this event will be substantial, and there is a very big media in the UK, particularly in England, the pressure on the England team will be immense. It will be. They will be getting it every which way. How do you think that they'll cope? Because you could argue that maybe in 22 they didn't cope with the favouritism, and that was in New Zealand, many, many thousands of kilometres from home. Now they're going to have to be doing it as they play through England. They start up in the north in Sunderland and they go on this parade all the way through, ideally to the final in Twickenham. Are they mature enough? Are they strong enough? Do they have the mental capacity to cope with what will be likely a snowballing impact of expectation, again, particularly off the back of the Lionesses' success in the European Football Championship?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, as women's rugby players, you kind of want more of that media attention, more of that media coverage. So it's kind of welcomed that scrutiny and criticism that I guess comes with being the number one team in the world right now. So I'm sure they have a lot of things in place and talk to different mental skills coaches and all of that stuff to really help them out. And knowing a few of those girls personally, having played with them, they just see it as any other rugby game. So I'm sure that come the World Cup, come the pressure situations, pressure moments, they'd have been in those situations. And probably the heartbreak of losing that final in New Zealand in that way, I think is a massive driving factor, motivator for them to do one better at their home World Cup.
I think there's opportunity for mischief if you were competing against them. I think there'd be lots of ways that you could really bring the heat to them over the next few weeks. But anyway, let's wait and see what happens with England, because certainly they start as the red-hot favourites for the 10th Women's Rugby World Cup to be played in England over the next 6 weekends. So Pool C, New Zealand, Ireland, Japan and Spain.
Yeah, another tough pool. New Zealand, Ireland. Ireland beat New Zealand for the first time since the 2014 World Cup last year in the World XV tournament. So, again, on any given day, Ireland are another hard physical team to beat, and they're great rugby players with great rugby IQs. But, yeah, I think the Black Ferns kind of have flown under the radar a bit this year, and it'll probably play into their hand a bit. They're not going in as the hometown favourites and can kind of build on their legacy. They're the most successful World Cup team in the history of the game. I think they've got 6 from the 9 World Cup titles, which is just an insane stat. So, yeah, I think all the pressure will be off them this World Cup, and, yeah, they'll probably sneak their way into the final again or close to. So, yeah, and Ireland, I think, will definitely make it out of the pool, those two.
It's so good, isn't it? It's just really exciting. You sort of think, wow, I can't wait.
Yeah.
I can't wait to watch these matches. You know, it'll be a rough next 6 weeks. Probably come to work a bit secondhand some days, but there we go. Pool D, France, Italy, South Africa and Brazil. Yeah,
I mean, Brazil, it's their World Cup debut. They qualified through the South American playoff. They beat Colombia. So it'll be exciting to kind of see them on the 15 stage. And then, yeah, France and Italy, I guess, are probably the two two big ones in that pool. But again, South Africa on any given day, they're a strong physical team. So, yeah, I think France and Ellie will make it out of that pool.
I know Rassie Erasmus, the Springbok coach, has been heavily involved in the development over the last couple of years of the South African women's program. Are we starting to see the emergence in South Africa of more athletes playing the game? Because if we look at South African rugby at the moment on the men's side, we've got, obviously, they're world champions. They're now world champions in the under-20s. We're starting to see a lot more of their more players available who are world-class players. Athletically, we're really starting to see, that pay some dividends. Is it starting to pay in that way with the women's program in South Africa?
Yeah, 100%. They're a frightening aspect, their potential.
Yeah.
We versed them in World XV last year, and there are some big physical girls. They have one of the best scrums in world rugby. So really technically astute. And I think for them, they have so much potential. And I know as more funding goes into their program, and I don't think they really have a strong domestic league. So we had three girls from South Africa play at Harlequins in the second year I was there. So yeah, the more rugby they can play, and the South Africans, they love their rugby.
So if you look at those teams, who do you think will be the big improver? Who's got the most potential to grow into the tournament?
Yeah, I honestly think the Wallaroos and Ireland are probably the two kind of smokies. I think that will push the other teams and really try and put their best foot forward to get out of the quarters and make it into the semis. Again, Ireland, New Zealand probably have a bit of a not easy run, but I think those two will definitely make it through to the quarters. But yeah, I think Wallaroos on any given day, if their forwards can remain consistently physical, the backs can play off that and unleash Maya, Desi, G. Fred, who's hugely underrated in the Wallaroos team. So yeah, I think those two, Ireland, Wallaroos.
If Australia doesn't get out of the pool, is that that's obviously not a good thing, but is that a fail for Australia? Like, should that should that be the minimum that we should expect?
100%. I think we will make it out of our pool. I definitely think we'll make it out of our pool and make it to the quarters at least. So yeah, I would say that is a fail if we don't. And I think that's been the messaging all year, kind of make it to quarters and then see what happens. It's tournament rugby. Anything can happen.
It very much is, and it's great fun. Having been as a reporter way back in 1991, following it from week to week, and then being a member of the 1999 World Cup winning team, it's so much fun. It's so much like just going from week to week to midweek games and the whole competition and what's happening around you, and injuries come into it, yellow cards come into it, red cards come into it. There's a lot of things that can happen through a tournament that can create opportunity during the week. Training mishaps, injuries. So it's at the moment everyone stands there reasonably equal and hopefully pretty fit, ready to go. But they fire the gun on Friday night England time. 40,000 people, as I mentioned in the introduction, at the Stadium of Light in Sunderland. We have England versus USA. Your preview, Bella, of what we can expect in that particular contest.
Yeah, it's the opening round of the World Cup, so always exciting. I think, as you mentioned, 40,000 people heading out to Sunderland, which will be a great spectacle. And England are obviously a powerhouse, but USA, they have our old attack coach, Feaunati, as their head coach. And I know that when they're firing, they're a really hard team to beat. So I think the game will be one up front. They've both got physical packs, a lot of front rowers. Hope Rogers is playing at her fourth World Cup. And then you've obviously got the likes of Sarah Byrne, Maud Muir from the Red Roses team. So I definitely think the game will be one up front and in that physical battle.
All right. So that's something to look forward to as the big opener. And I think there's lots of entertainment wrapped around it as well. I think one of the other very smart things that World Rugby has done, across the 8 venues is in the 32 matches is to make the pricing of the tickets accessible so people can actually get along. And yes, we spoke about the sellout of the final, and obviously the opening will be sold out. But I expect that there will be very strong attendances across England over the next little while. So congratulations to World Rugby for being sensible about ticket pricing, because I think recently in South Africa there's been some controversy last weekend around ticket pricing. Australia-South African match, and there were quite a number of empty seats there as well. And while there weren't empty seats at the British Irish Lions versus Wallabies, the ticket prices were pretty solid, which make it difficult for people to experience and to lean into the game as well. So I do hope administrators around the world try to think of other ways of making money and not just slugging the fans ridiculous prices so as that we don't get kids along to enjoy these games. But that's not going to happen at the 10th Women's Rugby World Cup, so that is very good news. So we won't go through all of the first round matches, but we will talk about the match in Salford, Australia versus Samoa. What are we going to see, and what would be a good result for the Australian team?
Yeah, I think the first 20 minutes will be really physical, but I think Australia will run away with it in the first half. And I think Maya Stewart will score a lot of tries down that right wing. But yeah, Samoa are obviously very physical, and it'll be a tough opening 20, 30 minutes. But yeah, as I said, I think Australia will run away with it in the end there.
So a margin, you'd be thinking, what, 20, 30 points, 40 points?
Yeah, I think it'll be 45-5.
Okay. Very good. All right, the next match then, Canada-Fiji in York.
Yep, Canada-Fiji. I think Canada will win comfortably, but I think it'll be, again, physical. Fiji are physical and can really get a roll on once they start throwing those random offloads that they do tend to have. But yeah, I think Canada, their set piece is really strong, and yeah, I think that they'll win the game quite comfortably.
Certainly, it seems, from my observation of the game at least, that really the forwards battles and the set piece in women's rugby is very important. The way women play rugby, and that was a point that Emily Chancellor made the other day, which I thought was a good one, is that it's not, it's women playing rugby, men play rugby. The games are slightly different, and really the forwards really do come into it in women's rugby, perhaps a little bit more so than the influence that they have on the men's game.
Yeah, I think, as you said, the game can be won through set piece, and I think it's really easy for the backs to play off a strong forward pack. And I know in the best teams I've played in, we've always had a really strong pack, and it's really easy to play on top on the front foot. And you probably don't have to rely on other things such as your kicking game or losing a centre because they have to get some go forward. So yeah, I think it's really important, and set piece, like you touched on, is important in the women's game.
Okay, the final match that we'll have a chat about is in Exeter. France versus Italy. What can we expect there? And is Pauline Bourdon going to be available?
Yeah, I think she's available. She had a 2-match suspension, I think, throughout the French domestic league. I'm not sure. She made a comment about the refs and I think got suspended that way. I'm not too sure what the go was there. But yeah, it'd be great to have her back. And I know France will be looking to bounce back against their disappointing loss against England. And yeah, Italy are a great rugby team. They probably don't have as much support as the other top 4, top 6 nations have, but they have some really great rugby players. A lot of girls playing in the Prem in England. They've got a great prop in Sylvia. I played with her at Harlequins. She'll be looking to push that Italian side forward.
Great.
But yeah, I think France will get the win there at Sandy Park.
All right. So much to look forward to. 16 teams, 32 matches, 8 venues, 6 weeks. We will be covering it all here on Rugby Unity. And just a reminder to all of the players who are involved, this is up for grabs. To be the content creator of the tournament, the Rugby Unity content creator of the tournament, your name will be engraved on this very special tankard. Who doesn't like a tankard? Traditional rugby gift. And that will be not only us, that'll not just be Bella McKenzie and my good self, but it will be our community on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Spotify and others. And we want people finding stuff and sending it to us and pointing it out to us so we can all enjoy the content that's going to be created and so we can build some momentum behind this tournament, because I think it's going to come from free-to-air television, the BBC. That's enormous, isn't it, that the BBC will be covering the tournament in England?
Yeah, it's huge. It's massive for the growth of the game just to get free footy on TV. Everyone loves that. But back to the Cup, David, do you think we'll see any TikTok examples from you to kind of give listeners and viewers what to do? What's the vibe of this Content Creator Cup?
Well, I'm not sure. I'm not that creative with my TikToks, but I'll certainly be on TikTok answering as many questions as I can, as I do try to do most days. I'm not sure. I'm not up for it, but maybe, I don't know. I'll leave it up to the team. Maybe you can help me on trying to come up with something, but it's not about me. It's about the girls. We really want to see the girls having fun, and we want to see them out and about in England. The weather will be fine. The people will be excited, and I just think that all the ingredients are there for this, super elevation, this continued transformation. And again, Rugby Unity is committed to helping secure the future prosperity of rugby union around the world. And this tournament is going to be, the jet fuel, I think, in this next period, because, continuing to grow the game. All we have to do is just think back to the way the world responded to the women's sevens game at the Paris Olympics. I think it opened up, tens of millions of people's eyes to, the quality of women's rugby. And I think we're going to see that again in this tournament. And it's something for us to all look forward to and all of us to enjoy. So wherever you are in the world, we do have listeners in over 75 countries who listen to the Rugby Unity podcast. So I hope many of you can find the coverage wherever it may be in your particular country. But stay tuned to, as I say, all of the social media content that's going to be emerging out of the teams and out of the players. And also you can tune into Rugby Unity as well. And hopefully we'll be able to pick out some of the stuff that we're liking as we head towards that very big day when we give and appoint the content creator of the 10th Women's Rugby World Cup. So, Bella McKenzie, thank you so much for giving up some of your valuable time today, and I look forward to you coming with me on this journey as we really look to see who is going to win the tournament. So much to look forward to. Really grateful for your support, and to you, the audience, thank you for coming along as well. We do know that this is probably going to be a slightly different audience to our traditional Rugby Unity audience, so if you could spread the word about our women's rugby content. And there's also some great content that's floating around. I think it's Let the Energy Begin, or The Energy Never Ends. There's been some beautiful content created to promote the tournament so far as well. So, as I say, lots to look forward to. I'm so looking forward to this. It's just so exciting to have Bella McKenzie, an Australian expert player, to be able to share with us her insights over the weeks to come. So looking forward to that. But please, audience, thank you. Be kind to each other. My name is David Pembroke, and we'll be back at the same time next week to give a wrap-up of what's happened in the first round of the Women's Rugby World Cup, but also, importantly, to look forward to the round 2 matches. But for the moment, it's bye for now.